I had given up on a drum corps dream before I even started. Little did I know that that illness created the most crucial juncture in my journey. Hello everyone. Today, I wanted to take you on a journey of my audition experience with the Phantom Regiment. But before I do that, I wanted to provide you a little bit of context and background of who I was and the events that led me to that audition. This is probably going to be a two-part story because it's pretty long. I wanted to share this experience not to brag or to gloat, but because I think it's a compelling story. And it's a story that I wanted to share with anybody who is out there who is also aspiring to audition, know somebody who is aspiring to audition, or is aspiring to accomplish anything. I think these lessons can be transferable to multiple aspects of your life, because I know I took these lessons and applied them in my life well after drum corps. Growing up, I was an introvert. Going through elementary school, I only really had a close friend or two. I wasn't a part of any major organization outside of a couple of soccer teams, and I really just liked being by myself. There was no greater organization or aspect of my life that drove me any place, at least in my formative years. I didn't have any natural born talents or skills throughout my early years. However, in 6th grade, we had the opportunity to sign up for band. And it was at this time where I found a love for music and for performing it. I discovered that I could read music quite well. I might not have been a musical prodigy or an expert in music theory. I never was, but it was something that I enjoyed quite a bit. And it was something that I enjoyed all the way through leading up to high school, and obviously in high school. Now, one important piece of this story was, what was my instrument? What was the instrument that I chose? Well, I chose the saxophone. The alto saxophone, to be precise, which is a woodwind instrument. This is going to be important to the story later on. When high school rolled around, so too did the opportunity to try out for the marching band. The introvert I am, somehow I found myself in this tryout. And fortunately, I got an offer to join the varsity marching band. My inclination was, I don't know about that. I almost opted out. One of my friends, his name was Josh, grabbed me by the shoulders and he says, "Are you kidding? Yes, join varsity." And so I said, why not? This was one of the most important decisions I ever made, because marching band was the first time in my life that I felt that I was a part of something, an organization, a group of people that I was very close with. You know, you grow these tight-knit bonds with members of your own section. The saxophones, in my case, they became some of my best friends. I can't say enough about high school marching band. It kept me out of trouble, kept me busy, it kept me moving. It's where I met my now wife. I owe a lot to my experience in marching band, and I just absolutely loved it. My sophomore year, we marched this program called Soundscapes. This was an altered version of the Phantom Regiment's 2003 show Harmonic Journey. I didn't know what drum corps was at that time. One fateful day, my band teacher showed us the recording of the Phantom Regiment 2003 performing the show that we had been performing that entire season, only 10,000 times better. That was the day that I discovered drum corps. That following summer, I went to my very first DCI show, the Southwestern Championships, where I got to see all the corps march. It was incredible. The very first corps that I saw step off, I'll never forget it. It was the Glassman 2006, Beethoven, Mastery and Madness. Absolutely incredible show. That entire day was completely magical. It solidified my love of marching band, and it solidified my passion for drum corps. So I had 4 really good years of marching band throughout my high school career. How competitive was I? I was not the best saxophone player. I was pretty proficient. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Though I may have been one of the stronger marchers in marching band, when it came to concert band, we had a lot of really gifted musicians, people who were better than me. I did not try and compete with them. I was just in it for fun. I only ever made it to second chair, second band. I wasn't even in the top band. When it was time to walk the stage of my high school in 2008, and though I loved drum corps quite a bit, I more or less decided to retire from that part of my life. You might be asking, why? Why did you just give up? Well, I always pointed to the fact that I chose the saxophone as my instrument. It was a woodwind instrument. There are no woodwinds in drum corps, at least at the time. And I knew how impressive and amazing the performers were in drum corps. Knowing that I never really got anywhere competitively with saxophone, I just didn't see a reality where I could ever become proficient enough on a brass instrument to even consider auditioning for a drum corps. It just never entered my line of thinking, and ultimately, I just never pursued it. And so, that aspect of my life, I was retired. I had given up on a drum corps dream before I even started. Fast forward to the fall of 2009. I was a sophomore in college. I hadn't touched a musical instrument in over a year at that time. I was still a huge fan of drum corps. I was still producing drum corps videos on my channel. And something just snapped in my mind that made me want to get it into gear. And I didn't exactly know what that meant. I was attending the University of North Texas, which just so happens to be one of the top music schools in the country with a very proficient marching band. I don't know why it took me this long to consider it, but I decided that I was going to make an attempt to join the marching band at UNT. I knew somebody who was on the staff at UNT, somebody who went to my high school. A girl by the name of Megan. This must have been either late September or early October 2009. So I texted Megan. I told her, hey, I know you haven't seen or heard from me in over a year. I know it's the middle of the marching band season, but I really need to get out on the field. Is there any way you can get me into the program? What do I need to do? Fortunately, she texted me back. She said, bring your horn, a bottle of water, meet here tomorrow, don't be late. I was so incredibly ecstatic to see this text. There was just one problem. I hadn't touched my horn in over a year. I didn't even have my horn at my apartment where I lived at that time. So I raced home 45 minutes where my parents lived, dug through my closet, got my marching saxophone, and proceeded to practice all of about 15 minutes, and I raced back to my apartment. I continued to practice just a little bit and start getting my mind right for whatever was awaiting me at the UNT marching band the next day. Later that night, I woke up. I woke up sicker than I had ever been in my life up to that point. So I texted Megan. I said, I'm so sorry. I'm sick. I can't make it to practice. She texted me back saying, maybe next year. Maybe next year. I was crushed. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. Little did I know that that illness created the most crucial juncture in my journey. I had every right to just throw my hands up, say, I tried, or this wasn't in the cards, or I was overly ambitious, unrealistic, this wasn't the place, wasn't my time, and I could have just continued going on in my life. However, it was in this moment that I became what I can only describe as possessed by passion, determination, and focus. So what did I do? I'll be sharing that story next week. See you guys then. If you're wondering who the heck I am, watch this video.